Hello everyone, welcome back to Huntcraft. Tier lists tend to be a bit subjective, so for this one I'll be ranking all 12 new Web of the Empress tarot cards, mainly based on how much they can flip a game in your favour. Along the way, I'll share thoughts, tips, and point out any mistakes you want to avoid. There's also a massive giveaway in this video, but let's start with the cards. Let's get this out of the way first. Chariot is the best card out of those 12, hands down. Call me bitter, but for the amount of hours I played Hunt, I can't even begin to count the billions of times when a team spawns next to an extraction, find the boss at the first lair, kill, banish, and leave, while I spawned at the opposite edge of the map in a spawn fight, which means they are uncontested. They will kill the boss the fastest, banish, grab the bounty, scan, find nobody, and extract, while I'm stuck fighting one or two teams. And it's not like there's a lack of ratty crouch walkers in the game. Spawn fights don't always end in 3 headshots in 2 seconds. Remember, banishment is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and running across the map is roughly 5 minutes. This is by far the ultimate big D card to play. Like I mentioned, in terms of flipping the outcome of a game, no other card has such potential impact. This card is the difference between no chance at the bounty versus at least a 50-50 chance. And once it's used, it will put a 5-minute cooldown on everyone, so nobody can use their own chariot to flip back the locks immediately, which makes sense. You flip it to lock the runners, they have a copy, and they instantly unlock the extraction again. That would be silly. It does destroy 1 chunk of health on use. You can see here I made the mistake of having a big chunk as my first one, which means I have to fight those guys with 100 HP, and now he doesn't need a headshot to untap me. Well, I said 50-50, right? But still, I think it's an absolute S tier, without a doubt. Now let's see if any other card joins it in that tier. If there's one mechanic from this event that should stay in the game in one shape or form, it sure as hell is this card. Both an extraction in the middle of the map to cut down the running sim, and the ability to not lose to pure spawn luck is an absolute positive in my opinion. One final tip about this card, you cannot use it in the last 5 minutes of a game. The World. This card reveals all bosses, except the roaming ones. That was something you were able to do before at previous events for 2 marks when interacting with the master clue. But those singular locations were usually deeper into the map. Starting the game with this gives you more value than the mark cost, because it will potentially save quite a bit of time.
Nice boss locations.
It's probably better in maps with 2 bosses, so you can make up your mind which boss is closer and also have clarity if the second boss is close enough to hit next or even hit during the banish, which might also mean more combat. The only RNG negative side to this is if the boss is right in front of you in the first compound, or if the boss is at the furthest point possible across the map, because probably someone else will banish it before you make it there, and then you would have known before you reach it anyway. One thing to be aware of here, knowing where the bosses are from the get-go might mean less carefulness than the usual pace when you're hitting compounds for clues. So you might get tunnel visioned and get ambushed if you're going beeline towards the boss. It feels like somewhere between B and A in my opinion. It's valuable for solos and teams equally. Well, maybe less for solos because they can find bosses quicker with Conduit, but still, it's a great time saver overall. In terms of flipping the outcome of the game, I think it has the potential, but not directly, if that makes sense. Let's put it in A. The Tower. This card is a good utility. It practically kills everything around you in a 65-meter radius. It obviously doesn't work on players, and for bosses it takes half of their health, and it's quite efficient at clearing Balweaver's Nest for example. It's just as useful for solos as it is for teams, and it doesn't really flip anything in terms of outcome. At best, it helps dispatch the boss quicker if say you start fighting them and then they turn red, so you want to get the banish over with to focus on the attacking team. The downside is that it burns you on use, Not a crazy burn, but it's already on the weak side. In fact, thinking strategically, it's usually a good idea to leave horses, hives, and any zombies outside of your compound, because they can act as alarms or deterrents for attacking players. But if you use this card to kill the boss quicker, you will also indiscriminately disable all those potential alarms, making it easier for attacking teams to creep up on you from any angle they like. I don't think it's a good card. It's a fun utility maybe, but I'll have to put it in C. The Magician. This card puts a dark side decoy at your location and hits you with a heavy bleed in return. On my first run after the event came out, I fell victim to this and it wasted so much time. My team had the bounty. As most people do, you constantly run with Darksight when you're out of seconds, so that at least instinct is active and you can tell if some ratty solo is hugging a tree nearby. We made it to the nest, we had no seconds left, and it turned orange. Took us ages to figure out where that camper is. We found the dead body wrapped in web, looted it to get a couple of seconds of Darksight, scanned, found the dude standing outside next to a tree. We kept peeking and getting an angle on him, only to find that stupid thing sitting there. I also didn't know that it has a distinct sound when you get close to it. You can hear it here. In fact, you can hear it from quite a distance if you know what you're looking for. So if it's ranked based on how it can annoy others and waste their time, this is an S tier for sure. But in all seriousness, if you use it correctly, it can help. It can cover an escape, for example, if you're trying to run from the bounty team, or make them think there's more than one team so they can take it slowly and wait for you to fight while you flee. But other than that, I don't see it making a big difference in most situations. I'll put this card in D. The Garden. This card fully heals and removes bleeding, burning, and poison for you and your teammates. This is the closest to MMO mass healing from a priest. This card is clutch as hell. It obviously is very situational. It requires attention to teammates. You obviously get more value out of it if your whole team is under attack at the same time. You're down to 1 HP, your teammate is burning, the other one is poisoned and bleeding after being hit by an arrow, and bam, you use the magic card and the whole team is minty fresh again. This would be the ultimate flip for an outcome of an engagement and subsequently the game. But it's kind of rare to get such value from it, I would think. And it's not like that dramatic scenario needs to happen. That's just the maximum value. It's still a good value card in most scenarios. It's less valuable to solos, obviously. The card doesn't restore lost health chunks, and it doesn't, for example, put out the fire on a burning dead teammate. It's still a powerful card, even if it's very situational. You can see that the use of it is even faster than a vitality shot. I think I'll put it in A. The Moon. This card grants you 2 seconds of Darksight boost. This is a straightforward value. That's the equivalent of 2 marks spent on Darksight boost envelopes that you can find in the nest or at supply points. Darksight seconds are always good value, and this one can give you 2 at the start of the game, so it can help check for a spawn fight pretty easily. A fun note here for solos, if you have Magpie, this will give you 4 seconds. There is a penalty though for a solo, or for someone using this to check for a spawn fight. You do give your position away, because players will be able to see on the map where you got Darksight seconds. Having wall hacks can always flip the game in your favor. Even with this penalty, this card is still valuable enough. I'll put it in B. The Devil. This card reduces the sway and spread, excluding shotguns, for weapons until your hunter is downed. Then it destroys an additional health chunk. Oh, this card is controversial for sure. Maybe the most controversial. So you can think of this as Crackshot from before. It costs 3 marks in the circus event. Now it costs your life. Literally. Well, the reason I think it's controversial because I'm pretty sure some would consider this S+ tier and some would consider it D-. Think of a gun like the Marathon with the insanely accurate hipfire it has. With this card, you'll never need to ADS with a Marathon anymore. I don't know if fanning and levering needed a buff, but this card makes them quite lethal. This way it reduces isn't crazy, but it's also not insignificant. There's an argument here that the better you are as a player, the less value you get from it, because you're awesome and you land your shots anyway. So some would think this is a noob carry card, and on the other hand, you don't want to get used to it because it will eventually go away and then you'll have to go back to the normal sway of the guns. Does that ruin your game sense with those guns maybe? And remember, on top of all this, you pay quite a hefty price for using this if you die. If you're a fan of 3 big bars for some reason and use this, 1 death and you're back with 50 HP and your aim is crappier than it was before you died. That is harsh. I guess the bottom line is maximum value here comes from abusing fanning and levering. Remember, we have a new levering gun that hits quite hard. And then obviously you should have small bars, which would surely flip games in your favor, making this an S tier. But at the risk of messing up your game sense and a really harsh gamble kind of price paid in health bars, I feel it should be a B. So let's go in the middle and put it in A. The Sun. This card grants you an increased regeneration buff for 60 seconds. This is really increased regeneration. And it even stacks with Vigor, and it doesn't get interrupted by damage. But be careful, a bleed will stop it. Well, and a burn. It's only 60 seconds, and a situation, let's say you're trading shots with a dude that's not too close and using compact ammo or something, you can technically tank the shots, well, unless it's a headshot. The card also has no punishing factor, but how situational is that? It's very rare that this will flip a situation in your favor. Because of the short period, you have to know that you need to pop it before a situation like this happens, and you can never be sure when. I can see it being a kamikaze Leroy type of card to pop by a reckless solo diving into a crazy fight to get some clips, or trying to run through some players with a sword, in which case he might still get one shot by a shotgun, but really it's a very difficult card to get consistent good value from. I'd put it in C. Judgement. This card doubles the time of all current buffs and reduces your hunter's HP to 1. Well, you obviously won't pop this during a fight, and you'll probably have regen on. So the punishment is not really a big deal. If and only if cards were not random, this would be a no-brainer S tier card. Worth noting that it doubles your current time obviously, so unless you use it once you pop the shots, this card value degrades over time. But that's a minor issue. For a solo, if you have Conduit, pop a couple of shots on top of it, or have the 4-shot boon, then pop this card. Or even better, if you have multiples of it, or you can duplicate it with the Fool, another card we'll talk about later, you can have an actual full game with those buffs on you. The card won't flip a game in your favor, but it can give you the ultimate convenience in terms of poison immunity, perma-regen, and perma-stamina, which is just great value. I can't put it in S tier because it's still kind of a passive quality of life buff, but at least it can go into A or B. What do you guys think? My solo bias will make me put it in A, I think, so that's where it goes. The Hanged Man. This card allows you to spectate a nearby enemy hunter for a limited time. The spectated hunter hears a warning afterwards. Well, how different is this from a beetle? You're locked out of controlling your player when using both. It instantly finds a player, unlike the beetle, but this card works for a short time. The beetle has no time limit. The beetle gives free roam in the air where you can see a full team or more. This card spectates one player, so you're not in control of what you're seeing. They might be AFK hugging a wall inside a compound and you see nothing useful.
Someone is watching, he's sitting in the bush with a sniper.
You also obviously need very good map knowledge when using this card, and good voice comms as well, to let your team get value from the intel you gather in those few seconds. The card spectates the nearest player, which I guess is the only advantage over the beetle. That player can be anywhere across the map. But then again, is that really beneficial? What good is it to spectate a player that's 5 minutes away from you and a minute later you would not have a clue where they went? At least at the end of the beetle use, you can do an annoying harassment depending on what type of beetle it is, or even return it and use it again later. It might be useful in finding some campy solo hugging a tree or something, but that's too situational and I don't think it's great value. I think the concept makes this card feel OP, but in terms of practical use, it's not that great. It's one of those cards that can rarely flip a game in your favor. It's just extremely unreliable. I'd put this card in C. The Empress. This card grants you Catalyst, Necromancer, and a random burn or Scare Trait. Before anything, there's a mistake to avoid with this card. If you use this when you're full or near full on traits, it won't give you the 3 traits. It gives them in order as stated, Catalyst, then Necro, then the random trait. So you can see here, I got 1 trait slot left, and if I use it, I only get the first one, Catalyst. The rest don't overwrite any traits or anything, you just miss them. This card is obviously S tier for solos. It's a second life, if they can use it. And for teams too, it's obviously a second remote revive if needed. Remember, the cards are random, and this card is one of 2 random ways only to get Catalyst. The other one is the Destiny Dial. So at least for a valuable trait like Catalyst, this card has good base value. But again, in terms of making a difference, well, not so much. The card is S tier for solos, no doubt, and C tier for teams, so I guess I'll put it in B. Before the next card, here's the giveaway I mentioned, and it's for another type of card. A 5090 Supreme Liquid graphics card. You can join this for free, and the winner will be announced 7 days after this video's release date. Good luck. Now back to the tarot cards. The Fool. This card copies the last tarot card you used this mission. This is obviously valued dynamically based on what the card it copies is. The obvious ultimate use for a solo is when coupled with the Empress, so it gives another Necro. That's quite abusive, because this is technically 4 lives for a solo player in one game. Obviously that's quite rare, because when players kill a solo, they will camp their body till they burn most of the time. But if they can self-revive and pop this card, it's like starting a new game. But otherwise, like I said, you can use it with the Tower and 2-shotter boss, or Magician, and place 2 decoys, or even Judgement as shown earlier for great value on your buff durations. It feels like it's impossible to rank this card. I won't. You tell me in the comments where you'd put it along with any of the other cards if you disagree with my ranking. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more hunt content and maybe Arc Raiders too. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next one.